All right. So what's up, everybody? It's Vivid. This is day three right now. I know some of my boys, are telling me like, oh, you gotta bring back the OG intro when I used to do YouTube videos and stuff like that. I should probably actually leave BC. But basically so this is day three. Let's talk, right? I'm I'm feeling good, and I'm feeling good for the wrong reason, I guess. I had a conversation with her last night. I know I should have, but given these last 2 days and everything that's happened, how much I've been crying and how bad I've really been feeling, I figured I owed it to myself. You know what I'm saying? To hold on, this guy's trying to kill me. Yeah, your dog water, buddy. Um, anyways, I figured I owed it to myself to you know, talk. And I had some questions I wanted answered, and I actually have it written in a Discord call because that is how I handled this. I handled this with two people. I called while on the phone with two people because I needed it. I needed that support. So I wanted to know about like why she would mention having, a breakup right now, and basically like just mention it and then try and move past it, right? Like what even are we at that point? Because we're talking about this, oh, let's talk about it at another point. Let's move on and think about it after finals and deal with it after finals. But it's like, I really thought, and I was like, you didn't do that to me. You brought it upon me on a random Sunday. And I originally, like, I'm gonna give you like kind of the rundown. I would have recorded a video last night after it all happened, but judging by how late it was and how early I had to be up today, like I couldn't do that. Um, I couldn't do that. Oh, I just got marked. Big ups. I couldn't do that because of the timing and stuff. So I was like, what, we're gonna make a video today. And let's be honest, I feel better, right? It's weird, I know, but having this conversation with her that I had yesterday was a really strange one because we talked and it was a very, I would say, aggressive conversation. I was on the aggressive side this time. I was telling her basically about how, you know, you basically, it's like you're doing one thing by saying like by doing this, but then like, it's like why would you even mention it if you're not going to do it? Like why give me that stress? Like, this is all conveniencing you right now by you not having to worry about, oh, I'm going to break up with him eventually. Like my voice is breaking. It's just like my voice. I don't even know what it is, but I have like a raspy voice. I'm not crying. Um I was just confused, and I wanted to know that. I wanted to know how she drew the conclusion that I was the problem. I wanted to know where, like, what she thought about first to kind of like, I just wanted to know her thinking process realistically because I, it's just weird that you would, take the one person in your life, who really truly only wanted whatever was best for you, and you just sit there and you look at them in the face and say, no, we're good. Um, so we had that conversation. We had a 30-minute conversation and some key points that I want to touch on. Obviously, I'm going to try and give as much context as possible because what I will not do is sit here and, just say whatever to paint her in a bad light because that doesn't do anybody justice, right? If I paint her in this bad light, all that does is make me look at her a different way and all that stuff. And it doesn't matter. So, conversation started, and basically, it was a discussion about, originally we were just talking about the why. How did we come to this? And she was talking about how stressful it was being in a relationship, and she said, this is the thing that she said, she mentioned that it wasn't the fact of me, it wasn't my fault, and it wasn't the fact that she couldn't be in a relationship with me. It's just the fact that being in a relationship right now was very demanding on her, and she didn't like that, obviously. But I told her, I was like, you realize by saying, that the relationship was demanding, that's basically saying that I was demanding. And I want to kind of make it clear. I said in the last two videos that I never asked for any extremities or anything, extra. I just basically asked for communication. I genuinely only asked for communication. Like, there's not a time that you can go back and see where I go, DoorDash me food, or can you do this for me? Can you buy me this? Like, all I ever wanted from her was just communication, honesty, and love. And, you know, I didn't get that. So, anyways, let's move on to the other point. So after her saying that you know, she I don't even remember where I was going with that. Oh, that, like, she couldn't be in a relationship, and she couldn't, she didn't think that she could be, the best girlfriend that she could be because of the stress that she's feeling, and she thinks that that's the problem. I told her, I was like, so basically you're saying that I haven't been thinking about my future for the last 3 months, and I wasn't building a future with you, like, and that's all I was doing. I was building the a future with her. I was building my future with her, her there as well. Um, you know, it was rough going, like, having that conversation, because I wasn't emotionally, like, fully prepared for that conversation because I didn't know what I was gonna hear, but I knew it needed to be had because this is the conversation. This was our last conversation. We haven't had a conversation since. So, um, let's see. The next point that I brought up was the fact that, like, you went about this for 2 months without saying anything to me, and I just didn't appreciate the fact that she would do this to me before finals. Like, obviously it's doing it to herself too, but she's had 2 months to literally kind of mentally check out of the relationship, and I told her that, and she didn't tell me that she wasn't mentally checked out. Um, and at some point, she did try and flip it on me and try and paint me in this bad light by saying how my expectations at the beginning were so much more demanding than they are now, and you changed. And I told her, I was like, well, going into long distance from from the summer, let's take the summer. Let's take the 3 months of the summer. And those 3 months were the best 3 months of our relationship. My birthday, her birthday, 6 months, all of that, National Girlfriend's Day, all of that was within the summertime. The beach, and the summer is her favorite holiday. That was the most we've ever hung out in, like, a time frame, because we could have done it. And so she tried pinning that on me, and that I pushed her to the side, and I asked, how have I pushed you to the side, and when? The One of the times that she mentioned was the fact that she called me at 1 o'clock in the morning after I had a really poor day. I really did not have a good day on Saturday. And she called me at 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday after she was done partying. And, I guess she said that I pushed her to the side by the fact that I didn't want to tell her that, like, what was wrong. And she asked earlier if everything was okay, and I said no, and I don't want to talk about it right now. And then she asked again later and I said, no, I still don't want to talk about it because it would have made me feel worse. And I actually had enough of, you know, kind of like a mentality. Like, I was in a good mental where I could have gone to sleep. But because she called me, I didn't sleep much after that either, because, um, the feeling of that. I didn't like that, you know. I don't like hiding things from her, and I told her, like, I apologize. Like, I'm a man about it. Like, I apologize for me, hiding some things from her, like, the how I was feeling. But another thing that she tried saying was that, when she would go out, she tried pinning the fact that my demeanor would change, and she would try and blame me for that. But the problem is now, sure, she's right. My demeanor sometimes did change when she went out. But when it didn't change? Halloween. It didn't change on Halloween, when she went out and texted me and called me, and we had a nice conversation. We literally had like an hour and a half conversation. She was a little under the influence in GTA 6. Um, so obviously, like, she actually wanted to talk to me and all that, because that's what they say. If you're under the influence in GTA 6, you kind of want to talk to, the person that you love the most. And I guess that was me. So, she was doing that, whatever. And mind you, I originally was super against the idea of drinking. I don't drink, and I would have wished her not to drink, but I also wasn't gonna sit here and tell her not to. That was the other thing. It's like, I never told her to not do something. I always advocated for her to enjoy her life and have fun. And she tried pulling the card that I my demeanor would change, and I explained to her that my demeanor changed because I asked for communication, and I asked for simple communication, and that's what I did not get. So yeah, my demeanor is going to change, right? It makes sense. It makes sense that my demeanor would change, because how many times am I going to ask for the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like, it gets to a point, doesn't it? It gets to a point where I'm like, okay, like, come on, let's let's figure this shit out, or we're going to come down to an ultimatum. And I never went to an ultimatum. I want to kind of put that clear. I never came down to this ultimatum. and I never told her that, if she doesn't change, she's gonna, like, we're done. And I should have. I should have. Um, because maybe that would have changed her mind, and maybe that would have made her want to try and stick it out longer. Maybe having this idea that, I'm tired of her screwing up, but it didn't. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I blame her for doing this. And I actually, if if she does end up watching this, if she does end up finding this, I want to tell her that I can understand. Like now I'm talking to her as if she was listening, but I can understand why you lied for the last 2 months, and I can see it. But what I won't do is I will not fully ever understand why you decided that I was the problem and you wanted to break up with me. Um, all I ever did was support you, and all I ever did was wish you the best. I never asked you to do anything that you weren't comfortable doing or basically add any stress onto you. All I wanted was communication, and you didn't give that to me, and that's your fault. It's not my fault. It's your fault. So it sucks that it happened like that. As I said multiple times, I wish it didn't. I wish that we were able to work this out because I did see a potential future with you, you know, and it sucks. It does suck. I'll say that. And I do forgive you for doing this. I do forgive you. I, I do care about her a lot more than I would think, or than you know, I kind of put off. I kind of always talk about the uh the negatives as of right now, but I do still care. And I guess that's my one message to her. If there's anything I could say to her that she would hear, like, that's it. So, but yeah, so that conversation happened. She also mentioned the fact that she felt like the relationship was a chore, which was a little crazy. Um, that stung a little bit, and it's like, and that's one of the things that my all of my friends are saying. It's like, if she's gonna sit here and say that the relationship is a chore, then I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be with somebody who doesn't actually want me or anything like that, and they think that simple effort that I asked of them was a chore. She had to do it. Um, so that's why people were like, "Dude, just leave." Like there's no coming back from that. Like that's a level that you don't just like. Sorry, that guy bothered me. That's a level you don't just kind of just say whatever to and come back from. Like that's an extreme, right? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine hearing that somebody that you loved feel like felt like talking to you was a chore, that it was something that you had to do in the sense that it literally took time away from her day to do anything different? Like that's a horrible feeling. So while I definitely shouldn't have had the conversation with her yesterday, I'm I want to say that I'm glad I did because I needed closure. Um, and it actually ended yesterday officially. So we had the end of the conversation with this. So that's it. We're done. Or that's it. You're done then. And I go, yeah, I have nothing else to say. And she said, no, I mean like we're done. And I go, I'm willing to have the conversation in person because she asked me a few times. She's like, what are you trying to get out of this? What are you trying to get out of this? And I'm like, I just had a few questions. That's all I did because all I had were questions for her. I just wanted to know like how we got to this point from saying that she loved me, a week ago. And you know, because it literally flipped a switch in a day, right? Like to me, it was a day that she went from, oh, love you and babe and all that stuff to, I need to be single. Like, it was time I thought about myself, and it's unfortunate to say that I care about her so much to the point that like if she does come back and ask for a second chance, that you know in due time and with the right time for her to mature and age, that I would do that. I would give her that second opportunity and that second chance because I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, she deserves it, right? Because she doesn't. But I'm somebody who believes in second chances. Like let's talk biblical real quick. How many times did Peter betray Jesus and he still loves her? He's the first pope, right? Like who am I? Like, I'm an imperfect man. Like, I can't hate somebody for doing something that they thought was right. Obviously, if there was a different story, like she cheated or something, then of course, not forgiving you. Like, that's a line we don't cross. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and I knew she did love me at some point, which is why I guess I'm so soft with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should be super angry. Like, I should be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she would do this to me. Like, what is wrong with her? But like, nah, man, love a little, love a little. That's all I have to say about it, dude. It's just it does not kill you to just have a little bit of love in your heart for anybody. It doesn't have to be an ex. It doesn't have to be a poor relationship that you had. It could be anything. So just have a little love in your heart, and it makes life a lot easier, and it makes this recovery stage a lot easier too. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I love her for doing that, but I'm also not gonna say I hate her, because no matter how easy it is for me to say I hate her so much, like, how could she do this to me? It's like she's a person, right? She has feelings and all that stuff. And do I regret how the conversation yesterday went? Yeah, I do. Regret that, she felt upset and she cried over it. But do I know that it needed to happen? Like, did I know that it needed to happen? Yes, of course I did. That's why I had it. And part of me is going, like, I know I kind of have this gut feeling, like, I want to send her a text message and basically just say, like, listen, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from right now. You should be studying for your finals, but I want you to know, like, even though that conversation yesterday happened, and we're technically supposed to be in this stage, I really don't hate you, and I really do forgive you for what you did. It's just in the heat of the moment, and I didn't appreciate it, and I wanted you to know. And I'm sorry that this all happened, because I really did care for her. um you could ask anybody who knows me personally. Like, when I talked about her, I only talked about her in the utmost respect, until I couldn't, right? Until it got to the point where, talking about her in the most utmost respect, I would just be lying about her. And can't do that. I need to be honest with people. I need to be honest with my people. Did I withhold information from him? Yeah, of course I did. I withheld information from them. Stuff that she did that we talked about that fixed. How many times I would have to talk to her about communication. I lied about that. I didn't tell them every single time, because it's okay. I understand life happens and stuff like that. But this video is getting a bit long, but I'm all in all, I'm doing better. I had a conversation yesterday where we officially ended it. Um, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I feel better, because I'd be lying. I don't feel the best, but I definitely needed that clarity. And the fact that she said the relationship was a chore, it's difficult for me to just go back. So that's it. I hope everybody has a great day today. Smile a bit, love a bit more, and stay happy. I love everybody who's listening to this. If you needed to hear that today, you're beautiful. You're worth it. You're precious. Your life is valuable. Your life means something. And that's it. See ya.